guys. Tonight, first off, I want to say thank you for being here this evening. As you came in, you should have received a One is Too Many handbook, and that is complimentary of the university here. You have that. Take hold of that. Keep it. Put it in your room. Take it with you. If you ever need that for a resource, please use that. The information you're going to get tonight is very important, as I've already mentioned. So please listen, be respectful to presenters and to each other. You may not be aware, but in a room this size, someone has or has been through or could be going through something that is talked about today. So let's be respectful of each other and know that this information is very serious. I would ask that you put your cell phones again in your pocket, turn them off, put them on airplane mode, put them away. I'd like to now introduce our presenters for this evening, and as I introduce them, let's give them a big round of applause, please. First, Ms. Vicki Ferris, and she's the Clinical Director for Northwest Family Services. Mr. Steve Tanio, Investigator for the Woods County District Attorney's Office here in Allen. And Mr. Chris Boring, he is our District Attorney for District 26, which includes 5 different counties in Northwest Oklahoma, Woods County being one of them. So let's thank him for being here. And I will turn it over to our presenters this evening to get us started.
Hi, my name is Chris Boring. I'm the District Attorney, as you guys just heard. First and foremost, thank you guys for letting us come out here. We're going to talk about some serious stuff tonight. We're going to try to be a little bit lighthearted, but all in all, we're going to try to be serious about some of this stuff. All of you guys are adults, right? Everybody 18 and above. Okay? So, if you guys get in trouble, you do something wrong, you break the law, you get raped, or something, I'm going to see you eventually. Eventually, you're going to end up across my desk or one of my assistant DA's desks. Or you're going to be sitting in a counseling session. Or you're going to be across the room from that man right there. Okay? So, the goal of tonight is to hopefully give you guys some information, give you guys some tools, right? So that you can make some good decisions, good choices. So, I like to tell everybody that life's full of choices, right? So, every choice has a consequence, some good, some bad. Right? Try to put yourself in the position. We got football, basketball, we got a bunch of athletes in here, right? Okay, so your coaches always tell you to put yourself in a good position, right? Practice hard, so that you know in a game, you know what to do. So we're going to try to give you guys some tools for everyday life that you guys can get in a position where you can make a better choice. Okay? Because one simple, stupid little slit, one moment of your life can screw up your life for the rest of your life. Okay? You get kicked out of school. How many of you guys want to go on and be professionals? Right? All of us, hopefully. We all want to go out and get a job and do something good. Right? All right. You catch a felony case. You can't be a hairdresser. You can't be a professional football player, right? You can't be a doctor, a lawyer, a teacher. You can't drive a tow truck. Guys, you get a felony, you're done. You know how easy it is to get a felony in the state of Oklahoma? Pretty easy. Okay? So, I hope that what we teach you guys tonight, give you guys some tools so that you guys can help make better decisions. We're at the party, when you're doing the things that college kids do, you have the ability to make a better decision. When you go to that party, you have to decide whether I'm going to get in that car with that person. Are they sober? Right? So, I don't want to, we're not here to scare you straight. We're here to give you some tools. Okay? And that's what tonight's about. Guys, if you have a question while we're going through this, raise your hand, yell it out, whatever it is. I prefer that you raise it up since we've got so many people in here, okay? So, if you got a question about something we're talking about, it's going to be real life stuff. Just as you heard Mr. Mossman say, there's a chance that one of you in here has been a victim of a sexual assault. Just by the numbers, guys. Just by the numbers. And if somebody in here isn't a victim of sexual assault, you know somebody who has been. Okay? So there's a lot of important stuff. We've got Ms. Ferris and Steve Tanio here. Steve is my investigator for District 26. Guys, he's been in law enforcement for longer than I've been alive. He looks like he's 45 or 40. But if I have anything to do with the cell phone or anything else, digital technology, I can hand him a cell phone. He can tell me where the picture was taken, whether it came from the front camera, the back camera, the make and model, what iOS it is, even down to the exact location where that was taken. Okay? So think about that for a minute when you guys are at your next function and you guys are taking pictures or doing whatever. All right? Those little cell phones are pretty awesome, but they tell a lot about your life. The other thing I was talking to Mr. Mossberg about is you guys are dumb if you guys think that those pictures are done when you take them on Snapchat or on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram. Right? Because if I want to hire an attorney coming into my office, guess what I do? I get on Facebook. I have this guy get on Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, whatever it is. And if I see a picture of you and your buddies just hanging out, drinking beer, you think I'm going to hire you? No. Right? And there's a chance that if you're doing that in your dorm, you're going to get kicked out of school. That's a fun conversation to have with mom and dad, right? So, all that being said, guys, thank you for being here. Steve's here. I'm going to turn it over to him, and I'll chime in and go from there. So, thanks, guys.
Okay, so hopefully this wireless mic works. But like he said, all we're trying to do is give you guys some tools to work with to prevent you from being in a situation that's going to affect you for the rest of your life. It's all about making choices. And at this age that you're at, even though you're considered adults, you can face adult penalties for adult crimes. Your body is still growing, it's still developing, and because of that, you want to learn it. So college is all about trying to have a good experience. And hopefully everybody's goal is to get a good, great education, graduate, and be able to get a successful job as a result of that. So it's all about good decision making, having good experiences here at the college. And athletics here, Northwestern has great experiences. Students have gone on to great careers after finishing their college time here at Northwestern. But with that, there's also been some unfortunate instances happened to students that have attended here at the school. And hopefully by doing this short program tonight, you can be a little bit more informed, a little bit more smarter about making some of those choices that can affect you for the rest of your life. So we're not going to sugarcoat anything. It's going to be brutally honest, just to let you know what's in chance. So this all goes part of the college experience, drinking and learning boundaries, and going on from there. But drinking to excess can cause problems. And so I like to tell everybody, drinking is not a bad thing. Driving a car is not a bad thing, but you can do bad things with a vehicle. You can text and drive, cause serious accidents that can affect you or somebody else for the rest of their life. You can text and drive and cause serious accidents. So none of those things are bad things, but bad things can happen as a result of excess of those. Unfortunately, illegal drugs is part of it. We have that every year here on the campus. That's part of culture and it's part of the population here. Same as with sexual assault. There's going to be a percentage of the population that uses chemicals, and that's be it alcohol or illegal drugs, or prescription medication in excess that causes problems, and law enforcement gets involved. There's also kids that think that they're doing something humorous, and then there's a picture taken, and that picture never disappears, and that follows them around for a long time. So one of the things that we do nowadays is because technology is such a great tool, and everybody has it, and if I had asked a show of hands, everybody in this room would wave their hand and say that they've taken a selfie of themselves. Whether or not it was an appropriate or inappropriate selfie is something else. Or they sent a snap, or a tweet, or a text message to somebody. Everybody's done that. What people don't realize, because it's technology and because it disappears as soon as we do that, is we think it's gone forever, but it's really not. It can always be found. So Snapchat has stories, tweets, anything. Everybody takes selfies. Then there's inappropriate selfies. And those selfies follow around for a long time, and anybody can find those. Employers can find those. College recruiters can find those. Coaches can find those. District attorney's investigators can find those. So yeah, at the time it's a funny little tweet or a funny little text that gets sent out, but then a coach reads that and a scholarship gets rescinded. And there goes affects a young person's life for a long time. Right? Coaches view all that stuff. They look for that stuff. They have people looking for that stuff. Because it's all about what can embarrass our university, what can embarrass our team, what can embarrass our company if we hire this person, or we have this person part of our university, and then this shows up. Somebody finds that and posts that on social media, and it goes viral, and lo and behold, Northwestern is in the paper for the wrong reasons. So that's all I'm saying. It's going to happen. Anyway, some of you are going to make those inappropriate decisions, but hopefully you're getting some awareness to think about that before you make that bad decision. Try to stick with the good decisions, all right? And yeah, eventually employers are looking at that. They're looking what can embarrass our company, what can cause our company to lose a lot of money if this information became public. If we hired somebody and this happened, what could happen to us? So before you tweet, snap, send a text message, take a picture, press send on your mobile device, think about that before you do that. And that's the hardest thing to do with technology because it's so instantaneous. It's so easy to press that send button and there that tweet goes out, or that snap goes out, or that video goes out. And hey, I look at it on my phone or my buddy's phone and it disappears. And I think it's gone, but it's never ever gone. All that stuff can be found. It's amazing what I can get with a court order from Snapchat on a history of somebody since they've had that Snapchat account. And any accounts linked with that Snapchat account. So be very careful. Just think about that before you do that. It's just common sense stuff. Now, does everybody know on your mobile devices, it's like a GPS device. So unless you go into settings, location services, and turn that off, every time you take a picture, there's a GPS location and metadata associated with that digital image that gets sent out. And when I look for those images, even if it's a close-up of a breast or a butt or a pickle, some guy's pickle pic that he sends to a girl, right? We get a lot of those. Even though it's just a close-up, if there's metadata attached to that photo, I can get a GPS location exactly where that picture was taken. What corner of the house was that picture taken? What dorm room was that picture taken? Was it taken with an iPhone or an Android camera? Was it taken with the front camera or the back camera? What date was it taken? And who was that phone registered to? All right, so there's a lot of information attached to those images when they get sent. And that's just the phenomenon that's occurred here in the last, I'd say 7 years, when it started getting popular and technology got real easy. Part of the dating culture, starting from junior high, all the way up to adults, is sending inappropriate pictures of themselves to each other. And the problem is that stuff never disappears. That stuff can be found. Employers can find that. Coaches can find all that information out. So it's all about making good choices here. All right? So part of that is you guys are still growing. Even though 18 is considered an adult and you can face adult crimes, your bodies are still growing. Specifically, the prefrontal cortex of your brain is still growing, all right? That part is still growing. That's the part that deals with consequences, rational thinking. You guys can make rational decisions now, but it's not fully developed till you're about 23, 25 years old. And then you have full knowledge of your actions, of what can occur, and that you understand that a whole lot more than you do at this age. So we want to get you a little bit more aware about those thinking then. Now, if you use chemicals, that's alcohol, prescription meds, illegal drugs to excess, that further affects that rational, smart decision making, and you can have instances and do something that can affect you for the rest of your life and affect others for the rest of your life. So it's all about making right decisions, not making the wrong decisions going off. These are all students in the last couple of years, and this is just a handful. I didn't want to fill up the PowerPoint slide with a bunch of Northwestern students, but these are students that have all been arrested, booked into the Woods County Jail. Their parents found out they had problems. for either substance abuse, chemicals, or sex crimes. And we've had a lot of sex crimes, unfortunately, occur throughout the state of Oklahoma. And some of that comes with technology. So this is a statement that a young female gave me here that was raped about 10 years ago. Not on campus, it was off campus in a house. It was an unfortunate evening. I had a sexual assault case earlier today that evening down at Winoka to work. And as I was coming back to Alva from Winoka at 2 o'clock in the morning, Alva PD wanted to know where I was at. Said they had another rape here in town. And they couldn't find the victim. They had responded to the scene because the victim's roommate heard the girl screaming and crying. She was fully naked, bleeding, bruised up, hysterical. As soon as the first officer arrived and wanted to help her, she ran from the house and was somewhere in the neighborhood. So they were doing a grid search trying to find her. So we finally found her. She was extremely hysterical, covered in bruises all through her body. But that was a statement that she said that the defendant told her while he was assaulting her. And it ended up being another college student. So did you guys get numbers earlier? Did everybody pick up a number? Yes, sir. All right, so everybody with the number 5, look down. Everybody's got the number 5. Go ahead and stand up. All right, if you got a number 5, go ahead and stand up. All right, so go ahead and look around as people are standing, all right? That's the percentage, historically, that are going to be sexually assaulted at some point during their time at Northwestern. 20%, all right? So you guys can go ahead and sit back down. So historically, that's what we have. We have a 20% average of individuals that are sexually assaulted during their time at the university. Not all of that gets reported. A lot of times victims are too ashamed, too embarrassed, too terrified, too scared to tell anybody about this. There's numerous cases where I've talked to adults in their 30s, 40s, and 50s that's the first time they tell me about being sexually assaulted in college. Now they were so embarrassed, so ashamed about it. But it's just like anything else. If you get involved in a football injury on the field, or a rodeo injury, or a basketball injury, you might dislocate your elbow, you might bruise a muscle, and that muscle has to heal eventually to feel better. Same thing with your brain. If your brain experiences some traumatic event, if you're a victim of a violent crime, the same thing happens to your brain. Your brain has to heal, but it has to heal by talking to professionals, talking to a psychologist, a psychiatrist, somebody that deals with those types of injuries to help you recover from that fully. Otherwise, it's going to affect you for the rest of your life. Now, like everything else, most people, if they do something bad or experience something bad, they want to stick it as far back in their mind as possible and not think about that. They just want to think about good things. But when you do that, and I tell this to every victim I talk to, everybody can relate to having a splinter in their finger, a wooden splinter. And you think you pop that off, and initially it heals, but then a couple of days it starts festering and boiling, and you might have to get a real sharp pocket knife or toenail clippers and dig real hard, and it's going to hurt like heck. But then once you get all of that splinter out, then that finger heals. The same thing with your brain and with trauma to your brain. Unless you get it all out at once, it's always going to be sitting there festering, and it's going to come at the most inopportune time. So once you're in a healthy relationship, you've met somebody that you want to be married to, and the first time that person touches you in the wrong way, it triggers a flashback. Or he says a phrase to you that you've heard a suspect say to you. It's going to trigger a flashback. So if you've been involved in a traumatic experience, it's always good to get professional help from somebody, and they offer that here on the campus, and there's stuff in the community, and it doesn't cost anything if you need that kind of help, and you can do that anonymously. So it's all about having a good experience, all right? So this is current freshman class, but a third of these students are going to be involved in sexual assault in some capacity. Whether or not it gets reported or not, we don't know. But historically, we have a lot of that going on here, all right? So that's a pretty extreme photograph, but I've had pretty extreme photographs in evidence sent to me that were taken in the privacy of people's homes that they didn't think was going to come out. So freshmen historically have misconceptions about the real world. Everybody's experiences about what they see on television. And that's not exactly the real world, all right? So one of the myths is that rape is only committed by strangers in dark alleys and parking lots. And actually, it occurs more frequently than that. And it's not by strangers. It's not the boogeyman hiding in the alleyway going to grab you out of the nightlight or some other part of your town. Only women are raped. And no, we've had a lot of other individuals raped. We had a individual here that was staying in one of the local boarding houses here in town, and in the middle of the night got woken up. He thought he was having a dream at first, and actually he was being sexually assaulted by another male, an older male. And he was really embarrassed about reporting this. This is a 22-year-old guy that there's a lot of stigma with that goes along with it, and he didn't know if he was going to report it or not. He told his best friend about it. His best friend told his mother. The mother convinced him he needed to report it to the police. He reported it within about 6 hours of it happening, and we were able to make a case really quick and arrest the perpetrator, who was several years, he was in his 50s that assaulted us. So another myth that people think is if a woman is raped, then she must have deserved it, especially if she agreed to go to the man's room, all right? And that's never the case, okay? No one ever deserves to be sexually assaulted, all right? Even if you can always say no, and that no should mean no. Under the influence of alcohol or chemicals, yeah, we make poor decisions and things happen, all right? Women who don't physically fight back haven't been raped, all right? It's not just physically, all right? If you say no, if you don't want to engage in sexual activity, then yeah, that's going to be a problem, and that's going to be a crime, and we work those kind of cases every day throughout this district. So a lot of people have a problem with the issue of consent, and this is a small little video that helps explain it a little bit.
If you're still struggling with consent, just imagine instead of initiating sex, you're making them a cup of tea. You say, hey, would you like a cup of tea? And they go, oh my God, I would love a cup of tea, thank you. Then you know they want a cup of tea. If you say, hey, would you like a cup of tea? And they're like, I'm not really sure. Then you can make them a cup of tea, or not, but be aware they might not drink it. And if they don't drink it, then, and this is the important part, don't make them drink it. Just because you made it doesn't mean you are entitled to watch them drink it. And if they say no thank you, then don't make them tea. At all. Just don't make them tea. Don't make them drink tea. Don't get annoyed at them for not wanting tea. They just don't want tea, okay? They might say, yes please, that's kind of it. And then when the tea arrives, they actually don't want the tea at all. Sure, that's kind of annoying as you've gone all the effort to make the tea. But they remain not with the obligation to drink the tea. They did want tea, now they don't. Some people change their mind in the time that it takes to boil the kettle, brew the tea, and add the milk. And it's okay for people to change their mind. And you are still not entitled to watch them drink it. And if they're unconscious, don't make them tea. Unconscious people don't want tea. And they can't answer the question, do you want tea? Because they're unconscious. Okay, maybe they were conscious when you asked them if they wanted tea. And they said yes. But in the time it took you to boil the kettle, brew the tea, and add the milk, they are now unconscious. You should just put the tea down. Make sure the unconscious person is safe. And this is the important part again. Don't make them drink the tea. They said yes then, sure, but unconscious people don't want tea. If someone said yes to tea, started drinking it, and then passed out before they finished it, don't keep on pouring it down their throat. Take their tea away. Make sure they're safe, because unconscious people don't want tea. Trust me on this. If someone said yes to tea around your house last Saturday, that doesn't mean they want you to make them tea all the time. That don't mean you come around in their place unexpectedly and make them tea and force them to drink it, going, but you wanted tea last week. Or to wake up to find them pouring tea down their throat, going, but you wanted tea last night. But if you can understand how completely ludicrous it is to force people to have tea when they don't want tea, and you're able to understand when people don't want tea, then how hard is it to understand it when it comes to sex? Whether it's tea or sex, consent is everything. And on that note, I'm going to go make myself a cup of tea.
So a real humorous way to understand the consent issue that gets a lot of people in trouble and that we get asked a lot of times. Hey, I was invited to her apartment, I was invited to her dorm room. That doesn't matter. So easy way to understand consent, all right? Weapons, that's the other thing. It doesn't have to be a weapon, it doesn't have to be a threat. It can be done through a wide variety of ways, all right? Alcohol is a lot of times involved in our sexual assault cases here, right? There's no trade for trade. And these are all misconceptions that a lot of freshman students have when they come here, right? So no, just because you take somebody out, it's not a contract that you're going to be allowed to have any kind of sexual activity with them. All right, so the other thing that we have is like I said, with technology and sending technologies out. And this happens to different age groups. We had a big case last year involving a junior high male student that had access to a lot of cash. You know, as he started hitting up girls, high school girls, a couple of college girls for inappropriate pictures. And he would pay large sums of cash, $100 for a breast shot. A lot of girls were going, hey, that's not bad money, and I can use the money. Once he had those pictures, like I said, nothing disappeared. And he used that as blackmail to try to force sexual activity, which some of those girls were too embarrassed to report it, and they fell for that trap. That not only happens locally, that happens nationwide because of technology and because technology can be used nationwide. We have predators around the country that target people on Facebook, on Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, and ask for images. And sometimes they get images that you already have on your site. And it can be something as innocuous as just your face. Okay, I'll send you a picture of my face. They can use, everybody's heard of Photoshop, but there's more advanced technology where they can put your face on an inappropriate body. And then say, hey, now send me a good picture. Or send me a good video. What do you mean? I want to see a picture of you doing this. Oh, no, there's no way. Bang. They send you a picture, and you're thinking, that's not my body on there. But it looks pretty real. And they say, hey, if you don't do this, if you don't meet me here, if you don't send me a good picture, I'm sending that to everybody at the university. I'm sending that to everybody at your home in Beaver, Oklahoma, or in Pensacola, Florida, or wherever. Everybody that's ever known you is going to see that image unless you do this. And we have those blackmail cases happen all the time. And we always try to find out, is that person that's doing that blackmail, is that somebody around this region? And when around this region, I say within a 10-hour one-way drive of Alva, Oklahoma, or Woodward, or Cherokee, or is that somebody overseas in the Philippines that's just playing a game and trying to get some more inappropriate pictures off an individual? So we have those cases happen a lot. And when those happen with male individuals, they're a whole lot more reluctant to report that because of the embarrassment of it, what's going to happen. So just think before you take a picture, before you take a selfie, and before you send it to somebody. And at the very least, I'm not going to stop you from doing that, but go into your settings, go into location services, and make that private, where all of that information about where that picture was taken What phone was that picture taken with is all stripped of that when you send that, so somebody can't track you down. And that's part of what happens.
And the reason why I had you bring that up is, because every day we have, not every day, but we deal with that on a almost a weekly basis, where we get somebody that's sending inappropriate photos and they feel like, man, there's nothing I can do, right? So if you send a photo to your girlfriend, right, and everything's good and great for the, what, first 30 days? Not that long? All right, so for the first week, everything's going great, right? What happens when you go out with a best friend? He's kind of pissed at you, right? Guys, this happens on the other way too, right? Girls, you send a picture to your man friend, whatever you want to call him, and everything's going great, grand for a couple weeks, and he wants to have sex, he wants to have a little bit of tea, right? But you don't want to give him, you don't want to drink the tea. So now he's got that photo and he's sitting there saying, if you don't drink my tea, I'm going to send that out to the student body. Right? I'm going to put it on Facebook, Twitter. That's rape, guys. That's rape. Okay? When they're threatening to do something to you and you feel like there's nothing else to do besides have sex, that's rape. Right? So, the reason why I bring that up, one important point is, guys, if you sent that photo out, you're getting pressured by that person, there's options. I promise you, there's options. Don't give in. Come up and see this man. Go see a counselor. Go talk to somebody and say, hey, I screwed up. I screwed up. I sent a picture I shouldn't. Okay? Now this guy's trying to get me to have sex with him or send it out to him. So there's an option. When that happens, we've had that happen. We had it, just like you said, we had it in Beaver not too long ago. Okay? So she said, I screwed up. I sent out a photo. He's blackmailing me. He's already raped me once. He wants to do it again. Right? There was an option. She came in and said, I can't do this anymore. So she went and told Steve. Steve went in, did an investigation, and we cut him. So there's an option if you screw up. So just like we're talking about the choices, even if you make bad choices, we can still help try to fix those choices. Okay? So that's what I brought.
Yeah, it's never too late. It's all about consent and whether or not you want to do that. Just because you're in a relationship with somebody doesn't give them free will. So yeah, sex is still all about consent. Okay, just because getting a good night kiss does not mean that you can carry that further, all right? It's all about consent. And so you can watch that teacup deal if you get confused. You can watch it on YouTube and refresh your memory, but it's pretty easy to understand. The problem is in the age group that we're dealing with here, a lot of times alcohol, substances, chemicals are involved, so that lowers the rational thinking aspect of it. All right, next slide. All right, so alcohol is involved in 74% of all sexual assaults on college campuses. And we've had that happen a bunch of times here. If both people are intoxicated at the time of the incidents, no one can be accused of rape, and that's false. Right? That's happened several times before. Both individuals are intoxicated, and one individual doesn't want to happen what's occurring, and they report that, we charge them with rape. So how drugs affect the human body, and Victor Ferris can speak about that.
Is my mic working? Can you hear me? Test? Better? Okay. Alcohol on the body. I am a licensed drug and alcohol counselor. I'm also a licensed professional counselor. And I want to tell you guys, when they were talking earlier, especially when we started talking about the blackmail and putting things on your phones and then getting caught, the faces I saw in this room was amazing. There were a lot of head ducking, a lot of covering your faces. That's how important it is, guys. It's you. We can stand up here and talk till the cows come home, but it's you. that we're worried about. We want you to make those good choices, whether it be your cup of tea or whether it be a cup of alcohol. It doesn't matter. You've got to make good choices. One of the things we talked about, one is too many on sexual assault. If you become addicted to alcohol or other drugs, one is too many again, because then you go right back into your addiction. And I'm going to talk about the process of the cycle of addiction a little bit. But since most of your athletes, they did ask me to talk about the effects of drugs and alcohol in the body. And the number one thing, you guys can read the brain. We're going to talk more about the brain than what's just there. This was a new one for me, the stretching and drooping of the heart muscles. Guys, just overuse can cause that. And if you're an athlete, you're fighting an uphill battle if you're overusing a substance, especially alcohol. Arrhythmias, stroke, high blood pressure, fatty livers, alcoholic hepatitis, cirrhosis. If any of you have ever seen a cirrhosis liver, it's the grossest thing you ever saw. It is ugly. And it's not just old people that get cirrhosis of the liver. And it's also, you don't get well from it. Your body can generate a lot of things. Your liver is one of the things that really has trouble regenerating itself. Pancreas, obviously we don't want to have dangerous inflammation of our blood vessels. We don't want pancreatitis. It's very, very painful. And of course, we need good digestion to be a good athlete. We need good digestion just to be a healthy human. Cancer, mouth, esophagus, throat, liver. I had a client once that died from an esophageal bleed. His esophagus ruptured and he bled to death. And it was just from alcohol. Our immune system's weakened, which makes us more susceptible to pneumonia, tuberculosis, mono, all the other. There we go. Impaired judgment. Okay, we just talked about it, right? When we're drinking and we're with our buddies and we want to take selfies and we're having fun, and then we get it put on Facebook and Snapchat, what do our eyes look like? We look like zombies. You know, we're all glazed over and you know, and that's what we're talking about. Your bosses, your coaches, if you want to be a teacher, if you want to be a nurse, if you want to be a coach, and they go back and look at those pictures, and you look like a zombie. Memory, are you in school? Are you in school? Yes. What are you supposed to do in school? Learn, memorize. Right there, your memory's affected. Accelerated heartbeat, increased anxiety, and increased depression. A lot of people drink to do what? To get rid of the anxiety, to get rid of the depression. And I like your answer, but it's not appropriate. So, but it can actually increase it. Okay, listen up. Lack of motivation. You've got to be motivated to be a student. You have to be persistent to be a student. And you're in here for the long haul if you're going to be successful. So you've got to be motivated. And you've got to be able to see the long-term goal. When you become addicted to substances, you only think about the short term. All the long-term goals go away. All the good relationships go away. All your health goes away. So alcohol, all the drugs affect motivation. Poor time management. Missed the 8 o'clock class because I was hungover. Missed this because I was hungover. So time management is very important. Shrinking brain. Absolutely, guys. Your brain's supposed to still be growing, especially your frontal lobe. When you drink or use substances, your frontal lobe does not continue to mature at the rate it should be. Actually, if you start drinking heavily or using substances, 12, 13, 14, 15, which is not that totally unusual, your maturity stops. Your body grows, you go through puberty, you go through school, but then you end up being 18, 19, 20, 21, and you don't know how to make a decision sober. Your frontal lobe's never grown. It's never learned to make those decisions in a sober state. Blackout. You're awake. You're doing stuff. You don't remember the next day. You don't. I'm sure several of you have done that. Yeah. What did I do last night? Did I dance on the table? You know, you're asking your friends what you did, and they've been taking pictures of you all night long and tweeting it and Instagramming it. Behavioral changes, when we start using substances, our personalities change. Some of us are fun drunks, some of us are angry drunks, some of us are mean drunks, but overall our personalities change. And not for the better. Birth defects, this is a good one for you athletes, thinning bones. Is that what you want? You go up to catch that ball and you fall down and break your leg, your ankle. Changes in coordination, muscle cramps, and addiction. Addiction's the biggie, guys. Marijuana, cognitive impairments. So what? Poor impulse control. Poor impulse control. There again, good choices. If we have poor impulse control, we're not making good choices. Slow reaction time, back to athletes, guys. Got to catch the ball. Got to hit the ball. Problems with balance, increased heart rate, problems with learning because this affects our memories, bronchitis. And of course, we combine alcohol and marijuana a lot, increases the blood rate, increases blood pressure, further slowing mental and reaction time. Okay. This is the biggest addiction we have in our country right now. Opioids, painkillers, Lortabs, oxycodone, oxycontin. Doctors were handing it out, re-prescribing it, re-prescribing it, re-prescribing it. Some people really, really, really like it. Some people can't take it at all. It causes drowsiness, nausea, constipation, confusion, slow breathing, heart rate, addiction, and death. It is also one of the hardest ones to get off. Your mind completely hijacks you with pain pills. You may need those pain pills when you've been in an accident, had a tooth removed, broke your leg. But if you start to become addicted to it, which you can do very quickly if you have the propensity for it, pretty soon your body's, God, my leg still hurts. You know, my tooth still hurts. So you go back and you get another script. Okay, you know, not unheard of. Well, then it gets worse and something else hurts. Your body's completely hijacked by the drug. So you think you have the pain. You don't have the pain. It's your brain talking to you. Very easily abused, easy to get. I guarantee you guys it's one of the worst drugs to come off of and one of the parts to stay off of. Except for the exception maybe now. That's not unusual about it. This is your brain. Non-user brain, see how active it is? Both sides of your lobes. Drug abuser, not so active, huh? And you guys are supposed to be in the active part of your life. You're supposed to be thinking better, running faster, jumping higher. And this is what your brain's doing? Metabolism, normal subject, very active in the metabolism. Cocaine, hardly anything. This is the worst part of drugs, guys, is the actual mental health issues of drugs. Most of you are going to experiment. Most of you are going to try drugs. A lot of you are going to use drugs. But it's when it goes from use to misuse, to abuse, to addiction, is when it becomes an issue. Causes depression, anxiety, loss of coping skills. We make poor decisions because our frontal lobe's been hijacked, right? We're not thinking right. We're choosing alcohol or drugs over our children, over our studies, over our sports. And people don't understand, why are they doing that? It's because your frontal lobe's been hijacked. Your brain is in control. Actually, the drugs is in control of your brain. Decreased focus and concentration, shame and guilt is huge. People have horrendous shame and guilt when they have substance use disorder. Self-loathing, increase in aggression and anger. So it starts out up here, we use, and we're saying we're pretty much already, you know, abusing. Maybe so we start up here, and we get relief and feel control when we use. Then we come down here to dissatisfaction. We have the shame and guilt going on. So, yeah, I shouldn't have done that. I feel bad. You know, I stood at my kid, or I stood at my girlfriend, or, I messed around on my boyfriend, whatever we're doing when we're high. Then it comes down, we make promises and amends we can't keep. We make this moral resolve saying, I'm going to stop this, I'm going to quit this, and we believe it. We believe it. But then we get disillusionment and despair, and the pain comes back. Whether it's physical pain or emotional pain, there's pain. So we feel entitled. My gosh, why can't I use? I feel better when I use. Screw them. So we get anger, entitlement, we blame others, we use again. Guess what? Well, here we are again, guilt and shame. Promises and amends we're not keeping, missing appointments, missing school, missing class, missing practice, disillusionment, anger, entitlement, and we use again. This goes on for some people for years. And years and years. When Mr. Tenio was talking about it takes a long time for our brain to heal from trauma, most people who have trauma do what? Drink or use substances. So now we have two things to cure our brains. Mental health, 80% are co-occurring, comorbid disorders between substance use and mental health issues. And most of it comes from trauma. Think. Oh, there's more. This is the addiction tree. These are all the different forms of addiction. Body image is big, especially in your age group. By my age, I don't care. I'm a grandma and proud of it. So, but body image is still big. Eating disorders go along with that. Gambling, shopping, retail therapy, sex addictions, drinking, substance use, tobacco, etc. This tree shows, here's the feelings: anger, rage, hate, guilt, jealousy, fear, envy, and greed. Do you guys want to have these feelings? These are all feelings that come with addiction. They're not fun feelings. That's why we blame everybody else. We don't want to look at ourselves. This is what we're close. Worry, rapid thinking, perfectionism, obsession thinking. Here is your process addictions. Here's your spending, your gambling, hobbies, exercise, like yoga exercise. That's process addictions that we use so we don't feel these things. Here's your substance addictions, alcohol, drugs. We use these things so we don't feel these things, but perpetuates us to use these or feel these things. And then it affects all of our relationships, our love and sex life. We find somebody who's codependent or we become codependent, and then it changes the groups that we go in and can lead to criminal activity. If you keep using substances, and if you use illegal substances, I guarantee you're going to get into criminal activity, and then you're going to be visiting these children. So, I think that's the last one. Oh, yes. Last one for me. Thank you, guys.
Okay, so a high percentage of male students in college get involved in situations, and whether or not it gets reported or gets investigated, a lot of times it doesn't, but it does affect through the rest of their lives.
Hello? Hello. All right. So, guys, sex crimes, we're talking about rape, lewd mole, all these others. How many of you guys can read? Fantastic, almost all of you. Read it, guys. This is the stuff that I deal with on a daily basis. Okay? We deal with sex crimes almost every day. So, what are we looking at when we're dealing with rape? We're looking at slight penetration. Guys, it doesn't matter who it is, male on male, female male, whatever it is, we deal with it, right? So I've got to go in and I've got to prove these elements of every one of these crimes when I come in there. So generally what's going to happen when you come into a courtroom, how many of you guys know somebody that's been to court? Not you, but know somebody else, right? Right, everybody does. Okay, so when you come in there and you look across the table, there's two tables in there. Generally, it's me or one of my assistant DAs. If you see me sitting in there and him sitting in there and you're across from the table, we're enemies, right? Who did Northwestern play football last week? Who? Arkansas? All right, so when you walked out on the field, you were enemies, right? You wanted to bury him. That was your goal.
Yes, sir.
Right?
Oh, yes, sir.
So when I walk into the courtroom and you rape one of my constituents, one of my people, I want to bury you. You understand that? I want to bury you. And this guy, he's going to get you to write me a nice little letter, and it's going to say, I'm really, really sorry, and you're going to cry really, really hard, and then I'm going to send you to prison. Okay? I'm not playing around with it. You guys understand that? So that's how we look at rape and sexual intercourse or sexual battery. Alright? Let's talk about sexual battery real quick. You guys understand that if you're at a party and you walk up to somebody and slap her on the butt, that's sexual battery? She don't want it? She don't want the tea, right? You walk up and slap her on the butt, that is sexual battery. Guess what? You're now a sex offender. For life. That's not a joke, guys. That ain't funny. I mean, you can't go to any more football games, basketball games. You can't hang around with your kids, or your kids' friends, right? When you get older, you're a sex offender for the rest of your life. Sounds like a blast. Just because at one time at a party you had somebody on the breast. Believe it or not, guys, most chicks don't like that. They just throw it to you, right? So, don't be doing that crap, because that's sexual battery, and you're going to be a sex offender for the rest of your life. Guys, this slide I'm going to tell you about right here is, we all got cell phones, right? And so, when you use that cell phone, it's not a phone, it's a computer. Okay? So if you use your computer to send a picture to somebody, you committed a felony in the state of Oklahoma. Right? How many of you do you guys do you guys have friends that are under 18? So most of you guys have friends that are under 18, or some of you might. Right? We've worked cases in colleges in this district that we've had people send photos and receive photos. They were 18, 19 years old and received it from a 17, 16-year-old. Okay? That's a crime. That's a felony. Right? So what do you guys know what the age of consent is? What? 18? 16? How many of you guys think it's 16? Show of hands. How many of you guys think it's 17? Show of hands. 18. Okay. Steve, tell us what the age of consent is.
So in Oklahoma and throughout the nation, 16 is the age of consent. All right? So a 16-year-old can consent to sexual activity that's physical sexual activity with any other adult. All right? But in the United States, 17 and younger images, and sexually explicit images, is still considered child pornography. And you can be prosecuted in the state or federally for images. So even though a 16-year-old can consent to have sex with a college student, if they sent a picture of their breast, or if that college student sent a picture of his pickle to the 16-year-old girl, that's a federal crime. It's a state crime. It's a felony crime. And you can be charged and labeled as a sex offender for the rest of your life. All right, so other consequences that happen if you violate the law, and drug crimes or sex crimes. And the same thing, cell phones, technology, is something we all just use every day. Drug crimes in the state of Oklahoma, because we have overcrowding and because we're trying to get a control on that, we're trying to make it more of a community problem. So we're starting to decriminalize drug crimes. So some crimes that you could be a felony for are now misdemeanors on illegal drugs. But if you still use a cell phone and text somebody or send somebody a snap or a tweet, hey, I've got that gram or I've got that quarter paper to pick up, that can still be used as a felony against you by using that Computer Crimes Act. So even though some of those crimes can be considered misdemeanors, you can still get a felony if you use your cell phone to do that or use social media. So unintended consequences, all right? So scholarship athletes, you can lose your scholarships, and you can be ineligible to get scholarships at any other university. Next slide. You can get kicked out of the college that you're at. And you can try to go to another university, but NCAA has really strict rules. So not only is that occurring, the embarrassment of having to contact your parents to get bailed out of jail, ruin your college education, move back to your hometown and try to get your life together while the legal process goes on. Your parents have to hire an attorney. If it's for serious crimes like sex crimes, you can be labeled as a sex offender for the rest of your life. That restricts you from living near a playground, a daycare, any type of school facility. You can't live close because we can't have sex offenders close to our children. Next slide.
Plus, Steve will use your picture next year in this presentation.
There you go. Next slide. So sex offender, that follows you for the rest of your life. You're on a registry. Anytime you move someplace, you have to be on that registry. You have to notify it. So if it happened in Oklahoma and you moved to Massachusetts, you have to notify the local jurisdiction in Massachusetts. Hey, I'm a registered sex offender. I've moved here, and we keep updates on that on a monthly basis. Next slide. You have to notify your spouse later on. So child molesters, right? Everybody thinks those are super evil people. But down the road, if you got involved in a date rape situation in college and you got charged with a sex offender, do you think 10 years from now people are going to get that confused? You're going to say, oh wait, that was just a date rape, bad experience in college. He's not really a bad, evil child molester like the one that we saw. Next slide. All right? And unfortunately, it's not. Once a sex offender, always a sex offender, and you're going to be labeled like that. And people are going to think of you like that. And you're going to have very hard problems trying to get jobs, trying to get good relationships, trying to live in communities without that label. All right, so it's all about making right decisions. And by giving us this time tonight, hopefully we've given you some information to help you make right decisions. And just by the population we know we have victims of sex crimes here in the school. And there are resources, there are free resources to obtain on campus from other. All right, those are some of your resources here on campus, and they're here available right now. And you don't have to see them right now if you need help or need a direction to go to, but those are the people that are available. One more slide. And then we also have resources in the community, and all these resources are free and easy to obtain.
Yeah, let's give our presenters a big round of applause.